Good morning, everybody. For us on this Good Friday, even though it's not Good Friday, it is a Good Friday. Good Friday. I'm trying to make sure that Instagram is this screen is muted. It doesn't seem to want to do that. So then basically it's going to start talking, and I'm going to be like, "What? Why are you repeating after me?" Anyway, you're looking at on the screen the ES for this morning. We have hit a little bit of support down here around 5470, which is about 5400 for the S&P, and it's now on the move going upwards. Okay, I want to make sure. Good morning, Jamie. How are you? It doesn't seem like that screen wants to let me be great. It doesn't want to let me be great. Righty. Good morning, Ward. How we doing? We're doing okay this morning. I'm trying to make sure this Instagram doesn't just start repeating after me, because that's what it did yesterday. Starts repeating after me, and that's not what we're after. Okay. So Jamie Ward says good morning. Come on in the room, people. Come on in the room. Come on in the room. Let's see what's going on up here. The VIX this morning, or right now, is at 12.89. That's where it is right now. It is up 7.96%. VIX being up, market may be going down. And if you looked at any of the pre-market stuff, I'm sure you've seen that there was some downwards action. Let's go put this on SPY. We actually could look at SPX 500 if we wanted to do that too. We could look at SPX 500 and we would still be able to see that there had been a little bit of a drop. But then we hit support here at, what is this, 537, 539. Hit some support, very long wick, and it has started on back up the climb. This is what we're talking about. You need to come on and do what you need to do, baby, which would be go upwards at this point. People really like upwards more than they like downwards, but you can get paid either way if you know how to trade options. Good morning, Deborah, and good morning, Tanya. How y'all doing? Tanya said she was just getting off the train, but she made it. Look who made it. Tanya said, I'm here. Don't count me out. I will be present. If y'all got some thoughts for us to look at some stocks, let me know. I've got some ideas, but we'll look at what you got too. What Apple's OpenAI deal means for Google. OpenAI field iPhones complicate a lucrative deal with Google as chatbots challenge search engines. Yeah, it's funny because I saw a post the other day on Facebook or one of those platforms that talked about, has OpenAI or ChatGPT, has it replaced Google? Because where you would always go to Google looking for stuff, and Google, of course, brings up a bunch of links for you to look at, ChatGPT actually answers the question that you want asked. Now, the question is, the I won't say truthfulness, the validity of the data that you get from ChatGPT, but I think they worked very hard to update. I think when ChatGPT first came out, they told you that the data went back several years and it wasn't like forward moving yet. But I think they've made some strides since then to make sure that the information that ChatGPT answers with is accurate information. So there's some, the thing, but everybody, that OpenAI on everybody's cell phone is going to be an interesting piece of information. Quite interesting. Adobe set for the biggest gain since 2020 after AI sales success. Adobe had earnings last night, so we can look real quick to see what that looked like. Stock futures tumbled as record-setting rally cools. Musk wins the Tesla shareholder battle to keep record-breaking something or else going. I saw something somebody said this morning on something I was reading that said that if Tesla, if they don't approve, or if whoever, I think it has to be Tesla, doesn't approve his like payout or his payment deal that he's basically going to be gone, and that's not going to be a good thing for Tesla. So thoughts, Tesla got a lot. I think Elon Musk is known for Tesla, and I would be very shocked if he ever left it. If he ever left Tesla, as far as that was. So anyway, no upside catalyst for markets in the near term. Elon Musk has been integral to Tesla's growth. And AI, yes, Chinese EVs driving into Mexico. Ooh, the U.S. is worried. Why CEOs fear Trump. Disney battle with DeSantis is finally over. I'm not even going down the rabbit hole of the Florida DeSantis versus Disney debacle. I'm not even jumping in that. Good morning, Marcia, and good morning, Karen. How y'all doing? CNBC says we want y'all to buy something. That's what that popped up immediately. Y'all see that, how fast that popped up? Pre-market, we've got Dow futures down 0.66%, S&P futures down 0.38%, NASDAQ futures down 0.16%. Oil is green, 10-year bonds are red. Talk about stock futures again, fall as S&P 500, NASDAQ rally to record highs, cools. Kramer says the market can't broaden out due to uncertainty away from tech. And then Russia's Putin sets out conditions for peace talks in Ukraine. Elon Musk says Optimus could make Tesla a $25 trillion company, more than half the value of the S&P 500 today. Of course, he'd be quite optimistic. Let's look at what's coming out today. Today's Friday. So we're going to have import prices month over month, happened at 8:30. So that should be out. I mean, refresh it. And then University of Michigan stuff comes out at 10 o'clock. That's a red folder, an orange folder, and the FOMC member Cook is going to speak at 7 o'clock tonight. The market, of course, will be closed. The import prices month over month is down 0.4%. They thought it was going to be flat, but it's down a bit. So that's a red piece of indication. The weight of it will, remains to be seen. We never can really get a good handle on that until it happens, right? Let's see if there's anything on here that catches our attention. Export prices, 10 o'clock, University of Michigan stuff. 1 o'clock, we got oil rig count. 11 o'clock, we've got a Fed monetary policy report. 3:30 is all these speculative positions. That comes every Friday anyway. Okay. So our earnings last night was yesterday after market close. I call it last night, really it was after market close, was Adobe, RH. I can't see what that next one says. RF, Iteris or Iteris. I'm going to go to see what Adobe, ADBE, looks like. I'll come back to it after I share with you what Adam had to say for the morning. What was Adam's input? Adam Mancini is a level-to-level trader. He trades level-to-level, but he trades ES futures. So his numbers on his Twitter page don't match up one for one with SPX. It's only there at this point, there's a 70-point gap between SPX and the ES, right? Every morning I do a look at this. I check the gap to make sure, see what the difference is. And right now it is 70 points. So what Adam had to say this morning, his tweet comes out every morning at 8 o'clock. It says, for a month, my target in SPX, of course, he said ES, target in SPX was 54.43, September contract, major resistance of a 3-month megaphone. Megaphone's the same thing as a broadening formation, if you know what a broadening formation is. And after a 200-point rally, we've been stuck under it for 48 hours now, as expected. The plan today, 54.02 is support, but it is weak, he says. Bulls must bounce here fast in order to see 54.13 and 54.31 plus. If 54.02 fails, then we'll dip to 53.87 and 53.68. Okay. If there's no movement here, we're going to dip, baby, dip. Dip, baby, dip. So yesterday, I updated and re-released the vertical debit spreads course that I have, that I created. Oh, it's been a couple of years ago now, feels like. been a minute. Anyway, I went back through it, listened to what I said a couple years ago, and saw that I needed some updates. So I made some updates. If you are somebody who already owned the vertical debit spreads course, if you already owned this course, then you can go back into Educator to Trader and you can go back into Educator to Trader and see the new update on the course. If it's not something that you already had, you can get it this weekend. I got 3 days on it for $27. You can get it for $27 for the next 3 days, right? I need to make a quick adjustment because I think the link you need to be able to get to it is you're going to need that coupon code. So I'll just fix it that we don't have to worry about that. But for $27, you can go ahead and get the debit spreads. Now, when do we use debit spreads? Debit spreads is great for if you want to trade as a buyer. Yes, I want to be a buyer, but you don't want to be a buyer at the buyer prices. I want to be a buyer, but I don't want to pay the amounts for the premiums that I'm stuck on something. Yeah. So you want to be a buyer, but you don't want to pay the premiums. Basically, is when you want to do debit spreads. It's like, well, I want to be in the buyer space. I don't want to fight against theta, right? I don't want to fight against theta. I want to be able to pay the pop going up, pop going down for a little bit less. I understand a little bit about spreads, which there's several examples in here that will tell you how to do spreads. And I want to be on the buyer side for this particular trade. Again, don't want to fight. I don't want to fight theta because if you're doing spreads, then the theta is kind of canceled out on those two. And I want to get in and do buying. So debit spreads is where you come in. It's a good little way for you to hop in, learn how to be a trader as a buyer without as much risk, if you want to call it that, without as much risk. Okay. You can go to educator to trader.com. Let me make sure. I think I left the letter out here. Educator to trader.com. Marsha says being a buyer but not paying all that money, that sounds like me. Yeah, exactly. So like I was thinking, like for example, Meta, if you wanted to trade Meta, Meta's $500 stock right now, and the options contracts can be a little pricey. But if you trade it as spreads, then you can pay like, for example, at the money, you could pay $100 for a spread at the money. And the upside to that, or, your max profit, your max loss, those things are capped, but you can make another $140, $150. You put in $100, the difference between the spread is what you get for profit. And that's a really good profit. If you pay $100 and you go up to, $200, then you've got 100% return on your money without having to go in as a just flat one contract buyer. Okay. But I wanted you to know that that's up and available at educatortotrader.com. All righty. I'll swing back around to the chart your way to 100K. Jamie, you got anything you want to add at this point? I'm getting ready to talk about Adobe's earnings, start to hit some charts.
I'm interested in seeing what Adobe stuff is about to be.
Okay. Let's see what they got, what Adobe got going. Well, you see this big old candle. I didn't want that there. I wanted this here. The big old candle here. This was last night earnings. So it went from, lean in so you can see, girl, 458.91 all the way up to 526 looks like. And it's hovering up here. So it's not like jumped up here and falling off. Time frame continuity shows it all green, but then this, you don't count this. I mean, you can count it. The week, the month, the day, that kind of, not the day, the week and the month you can look at, because all these other ones are forming now. So you can't count these. They're the first 15 minutes, 30 minutes, whatever. Those things are forming as we speak. So all of those are going to be green because the price is up so high. But looks like on the 15-minute chart, There's a lot going on there. So we have come though into a little resistance area, but I feel like Adobe's going to want to push right on through there. And so, you know, it might be a good, let's go with our daily chart and see if there might be a put credit spread opportunity. And remember, on Fridays, we like to get in on Fridays for the subsequent Friday expiration, because you can get good premiums and you can let theta help you over the weekend. The theta decay from a credit spread. I'm talking about credit spreads again now, because debit spreads is something that we do have. Hey, Lisa. But credit spreads is really our bread and butter, right? So looks like we might have a put credit spread opportunity if we want to go. Let me get us a line here. Is that good? Yeah. So I see support there at 453. There's some support. And if we wanted to go down a little bit more, especially if we were going out for another week, we may want to go down to 440, somewhere like that. I'm going to take you off, but I'm going to bring in Thinkorswim, because Thinkorswim is going to offer me the ability to put numbers on the screen. That's why the computer slows down so much. So when both these chart features are running, the machine is like, hello, you are doing the most and you're asking us for a lot. Okay, this is Adobe on the daily chart. Support here, support down here. The top of this gap is resistance. There's a gap right here between these two. Actually, that's not accurate.
Now, find that a lot of stuff that you're mentioning in terms of the level and resistance probably is going to apply to like most of the tech stocks anyway. So in other words, if we were to chart triple Q, we probably will see similar movement.
Because Adobe is a big boy inside of triple Q.
Well, it's a big boy in its space. You know, I think Adobe would be considered software infrastructure or something like that, versus you know, Apple is something totally different. It's also in triple Q, is what I mean. So, but Adobe is you know, definitely one of the dominant ones. So, but just most of triple Q being NASDAQ, you know, a lot of those tech stocks may look like the NASDAQ, you know, just generally speaking. So, but like XLK, the tech sector, if you look at that in triple Q and then Adobe, they all probably gonna, you know, now obviously not look exactly alike, but have the same flow in terms of the chart pattern.
Makes sense.
Similar flow, I should say.
So currently, Adobe is at 529, and this is where it closed. Yesterday, it closed at 458. Now it's at 529. So we're gonna need some supports in here to see where would be your place inside of this big old ginormous candle. Where'd you go? I moved it fast and then now I can't get back. There we go. I think we'd have to look at our plus minus number. We have to really wait till the market opens so you can see this. If you were trying to trade it for today, I wouldn't necessarily suggest a 1 DTE a 0 DTE as a seller would be perfect, but you're going to use a day trade. So you very well could hop in and get some of that juice off the bone, but you could also jump in and do it for next week. But I see a plus minus 31 right now. This will, of course, will change a bit when the market opens. But if we subtracted 31 from current price, that's going to put us around 500. It's going to put us around 500. Here it shows 51% probability out of the money. That's not accurate because the market is closed. So, but if you use this plus minus number around 500, it's going to, and it's a 2.5 spread. So if that's something you want to you know, have a little fun with Adobe today, or you can look out for next week plus minus 44 and pull in the premiums for a 2.5 spread. That may be the move for that as well. Okay, can't really say a lot about what's going to go on with Adobe because we need the market to open to see what it's going to do. But I wanted to look at Apple because Apple closed yesterday as an inside day. And I mean, inside day basically means it's between the inside of the top and the bottom of its previous day. So it's an inside day. This kind of is a doji candle. I like how with so many different strategies, some of these same things are brought into play. Candle patterns are brought into play. Candle, like the hammer and the shooter. I mean, you all know that I've been learning the strat, and the hammer and the shooter are something that's talked about in the strat. Even though the hammer, we see other places, hammer shows that there's upwards movement, the shooter shows more downwards movement, depending on the location, because a shooter, anyway, I won't even go all into that. But this is Apple. If you're looking at entering some Apple, because the question is which way is Apple going to go from here, right? Which way is Apple going from here is the question. Currently, Apple's at 213.10, so it's a little bit below where it closed last night. But one of the things you would do when you got an inside candle is after it breaks out of a break to the outside of this candle, the upside or downside is an indication of the direction. Basically helps you with the doji. We've talked about doji being indecision, and how do you determine which way? You basically have to wait and see which way we're going to go. Well, in this case, above the high here, above 216.75. Let me type. Above 216.70, actually above, you got to give it one more penny. Calls above 216.76, and I got that number from the top of this. After the high of this candle is 216.75, so above that, calls above that, and then puts are the low is 211.60. So then we want puts. Let me type. There we go. Puts below 211.59. Okay, and this is on the daily chart, which means this is something you're not expecting necessarily that to pop all in the same day, but you do expect it to, if it starts to break out down here, that it will continue a bit in that direction, with your target being the next bottom. So with target being 206, right? And the upwards, if you did calls, your target would be up to 220. So how could we utilize this? How can we utilize this as sellers? Because I just talked about buying stuff right here. One way you could utilize this as a seller is you can say, okay, the top of this wick is, since that's your target, we're thinking that it won't go beyond the top of that wick. So you could then do call credit spreads at or above 221. Okay, because your thought is that if it goes up to this point, that this target here would be the place that would be the turnaround, and you could look at your resistance above there, and you could then look also on the bottom side. If it started to come down, you could look at the bottom of this candle, the next candle to it, and say, okay, well, this is 206.85, so we could then do put credit spread at below 206. Okay, I'm not sure if y'all can see that. It seems a little small on my screen, so it's probably teensy on your screen too.
Question.
Let me see it. Yep, go ahead.
So, sorry to interrupt your train of thought, but
right.
Okay, so I just want to make sure I'm hearing this correctly. Or let me rephrase it. When you're talking about the levels in these contexts and you're going to like the top of the wick, when you say, well, if it goes above this particular point, you're not saying that if it closes above that, you're just saying if it passes it, right?
Yes. So now you would check the closing on a smaller time frame to make sure that it stayed outside of here. because you can see this wick went up, but it didn't close up here. So maybe you maybe drop down to a smaller time frame to make sure a candle closed above that level to confirm that it is actually going in that direction.
Huh. Okay.
Okay. I'm adding this here to say that the call credit spread at or above 221, this is also the place where it will be the calls profit target if you were looking to do calls, right? And puts profit target. Okay, so that's what's going on with Apple. We would need to see what it does here. Again, it's at 213.30, so it's still kind of hovering inside this zone. It's right around in here right now. 213.30 is about where my mouse is, right at the top of this candle. Really, it's a little bit above the top of this box here, the close of the previous day candle, and it's definitely in a spot where we're looking to see what happens next. Right, the Apple had a huge. These are the days coming out of its little conference. And then now it's kind of indecisive. People are like, well, are we still going from here or we turning back? You know how you on a road trip and you're going maybe in the wrong direction. In this case, Apple's not going in the wrong direction, but maybe you're going in the wrong direction and you're like, well, do we keep going this way and see what happens around the next corner, or do we turn back? Looks like we I don't know. Can't really tell. But what you can tell here is you've got some idea as to what should happen next, as to what you can do next. Not necessarily what happened next, but what you can do. Does Apple trade sympathy with Adobe, Jamie? I mean, do you know? I mean, if you don't know, that was a weird question.
It's like not as closely as I feel like not as closely as it used to. Is the way I see it. Because whenever I look at the daily chart of Apple, and recently, when I look at the daily chart of Apple versus Adobe, they seem to be going directions. But then when you meaning like within the past, let's say 6 months, it seemed like Apple might be going up, Adobe might be going down. But then when you look at like a bigger time frame, they're both actually going up overall, let's say over the past 2 or 3 years. You know what I mean?
I do.
Depends on, the time frame that I'm looking at. But as of the past probably couple months, they seem to be going in different directions. And Apple is Apple ain't playing around.
All righty. Well, this is SPY, and SPY is actually at and ended the day with a hammer yesterday. So that would potentially give us an indication that it wants to go up some more. It's currently at 540 at this point. Again, it fell and then kind of raised up and rose up. But this hammer, and no matter which book you look in, you can look in all the candlestick books, no matter what strategy you're using, a hammer does signify upwards movement. So the question is, what do we do next? So how would we look to see what's going on with SPY? Well, SPY, look at this long wick from yesterday. Like this is what it did yesterday, falling, and then it recovered and closed like right up here, not too far. The open and close were within 4 points of each other. That's the open and close. That's the high and low. The open and the close were within a point of each other. Yeah, the open over here, open was at 543 and the close was at 542. That's almost doji-ish, right? But this looks bigger because I've stretched it all out. But what do we do here? If you're expecting more upwards movement, calls entry above, what did I say? 5. No, we need top of this wick. So we need the high, 543.34. Need to get outside of this wick in order to cause entries above that. That's the thought of going up. So you don't have hammers are set to go that way. And what we could do for sellers, if you wanted, would be put credit spreads. Put credit spreads underneath here. Let's see if I went to the option chain. Now remember, I like, if you're going to look at SPY, to look at it for next week expiration, for Monday expiration. Again, let theta help you out. So look at the June the 15th, the 17th. Make sure that you check this out when the market opens. These numbers, once the price opens and does its thing, you'll need to check maybe about 10-15 to see what you like about these numbers. 539 is a 73%. 538, we got a plus minus 3 for Monday. So if we subtract 3 from here, that puts us at 539, 538, 539, right? Let me change it to a vertical. If you wanted to go 538, of course, the market is closed right now, so these aren't going to be 100% accurate. It says $9. And if you went up 539, it's $13. But you're going to want to make sure that you check when the market opens, see what kind of movement is happening and such when the market is open to make your decisions. Hey, Tamar, how you doing? Tamar, I looked at EMPH yesterday. I was thinking about doing an iron condor to get in for today, and there wasn't enough money. There wasn't enough money at what I felt was safe places, because EMPH will jump around and act the monkey. And it was like plus minus, like it was like a plus minus, I won't say 8. It wasn't that big. It was a big plus, maybe like 4. And I would have needed to be at like 125 or something like that. But it wasn't enough money out there. It was like on both sides, I could have gotten like a total of $10 or $15 for total on the whole iron condor. And I was like, I don't know if I want that kind of smoke off of EMPH this morning. So I really should have looked at EMPH earlier in the week, but I forgot about it. And so I was busy doing all the things this week. I tried to reduce my trading down so I can focus on the things. I have so many other things on my list that I need to get off the list, because I'm going back into the classroom in about a week, and I got several things I have on here that needed to be done. But I felt like EMPH, I needed a little bit more. But look how this flag, we went up and then came back down this flag, and then it ran, what was they called, a bull flag? I think when we talked about EMPH on Sunday, somebody mentioned that there was a bull flag forming, and it did exactly that, but it's now come back and popped back down. This is actually what made me think about it yesterday after I saw what it did on Wednesday. I was like, well, I probably could get something under this put credit spread line. And I was like, I don't really know. Then I thought I probably could go up above here. And then I was like, I don't really know. So I just said, let me just leave EMPH. Tanya said, I got in and out. Yeah, Tamar said EMPH acting a whole monkey this week. That was what I was looking. I was like, you're not going to monkey with me, because you can be bananas. And it is. Tanya said, I got in and out. Tamar said, I stopped doing iron condors on EMPH because it moves so drastically. Yeah. Tanya said, took my money and ran. That's the thing. I think when we're going to do EMPH, we definitely need to look at like one side for sure. Remember, we talked last night, if you were on the call with the members, we talked last night about letting the alerts help you with when they hit support and resistance, letting those help you with your entries, the timing and which side. And that would be something that would work out perfect here to say, when EMPH hits resistance, then we'll get in for, pull back. When it hits support, we'll get in for put credit spread. I think that would be safer when you're dealing with EMPH, because it like to do the real moving. Yepper. I didn't see any stocks here. Anybody got any thoughts? A tag back here that is irritating me. Moderna, I'm gonna look at Moderna. Moderna has an opportunity potentially. Oh, where? Come on, moving too fast. Moderna is at what's called an inside day as well.
So I keep hearing you say inside day. And that is including the entire range. Like that's not body, that's just not just open and close. That's the whole high to low range.
High to low range. So
Got
if you see, yes, it's the whole high to low that it stays between the two. So if you see here, this candle, this last candle here is inside of this full range of the previous day's candle, the previous day's price action, right? The entire, like you were asking, not just body, but here. So then what we have here, then you say that there is opportunity that once you go outside of here. Let me see, this candle is the high is 148.85, and then you would have puts below 144.87, 144.86. And the thought then is that your target is going to be the bottom of the next candle and or the top, depending on which way you're going. So if it goes down here, your target, your price target, honestly, this price target would probably be over here at 143. And the second target would be here. And this next target would be up to the next, basically the next highest wick, not the top of the candle, but the wick. That would be your profit target, or, you know, the place where you would probably look to take profits.
Okay.
That's Moderna. Go ahead.
Sorry.
No, you don't have to apologize.
So I don't know if anybody else is processing it this way, but to simplify why that makes sense as potential targets, if you think about what's really happening, in order, like we know that these are millions of shares for the most part that are changing hands, right? So if it goes up, in order for it to create that wick, that means that something had to be strong enough to stop it and force it to go back in the other direction. If it's going up or down, there had to be a wick. Anytime you see a wick, that's pressure coming from a different direction. So it will make sense then that you know, the targets would be, oh well, if today it goes above yesterday's highest wick, that means that it broke past that last strong point. And the next one up that you want to take profit on, because that was a strong point before, you know. So in either direction, but that makes sense because of how strong something has to be to send it in the other direction.
Opposite direction. Yep.
Yeah, I got you.
Yep. Very good. Very, very good. So I'm showing here that there is PCS at below 142. I thought it was 142 something. Okay, so to break outside of this candle here in the middle, this inside candle, if you break out going up, you've got calls above that. Breakout going down, you got puts below that. Calls above this, puts below. With the targets in mind, right? And then you could also look at it as a seller and say, okay, beyond these targets, beyond this next candle, could be where I could put my credit spreads, because the thought is that the price will, if it gets up here, that it will turn back. And if it gets down here, it will turn back. So that can be your support is the 142, and your resistance could be the 150.74 or 151, something like that. You want to get beyond that. So those are my thoughts. That was Moderna, and that was, what's the other one I did? Apple. Or did I do? Yeah, I did Apple. I did SPY. Ward has asked for Exxon, so let's go take a look at that. Okay, let me type the right stuff. Here we go. Exxon and Microsoft. Let's go see what we got. Are you in these trades already, Ward? Or are you looking for next Friday? Looks like Exxon is on a downwards ride. So it looks like a call credit spread might be of use. You can look at a trend line here. Okay. Resistance would be at 112.72. That's where I would see for it. Let me see if I see anything else back here. That's probably a chair. Yep. It was. Where's my mouse? There you are. Okay. So I would see some resistance at the 111.22. Ward said, I'm just looking. Okay. 111.22. Let me see if I see some support. Which is probably right here. In that area, because up, down, that's would have created a point right there. So we've got support at 109. Again, we're on a downwards ride. I don't know if I'd necessarily do a put credit spread. Don't think I'd do that. But a call credit spread could be of use. So let's see. Definitely would look again for out next week. 110. We're looking for call credit spread. Let me change this to single. 113, 112 or 113, depending on which one you're comfortable with. 112 or 113. Let me make this a little bit bigger. Oh, I already got it on very large. Okay. 112, 113. If I change it to vertical, 112, paying $21. 113, paying 12. Of course, you got to wait till the market opens, but Exxon might have some opportunity. Let me see. This is a 2 down candle. So you would have to see that your potential would be that it would continue. You do have a trend line, so it may want to try to come back up to this trend line. So this is where you got your 112 as your resistance. So that way you've got some support, something to be between you and the price. 112.72, 113 again would probably be a little safer. What was my plus minus number? I didn't look at that. Plus minus 2.8. So if you added 2.8 to this, 113 would be a better place. You want to be beyond this plus minus number. If you can manage it, that's going to be the wisest thing to do. Let's look at Microsoft. I would look at 113, 114 on Exxon. Exxon call credit spread 113, 114. Not investment advice, just what I see on the chart. Microsoft has a little itty bitty gap here. It's teensy weensy. Yesterday's candle would be called what? I've mentioned it multiple times today. What would it be? Are you not listening? No, you're not paying attention. Where are you, Jamie? It's an inside candle. You missed your chance to shine. Microsoft is at an inside candle, but it looks like it wants to continue upwards, but it hit the same resistance place. It may not want to continue upwards. So what you look there to see, well, if it doesn't want to do, let's see if I can get something on the way out. So calls above what?
My screen was froze. I couldn't respond.
Oh.
I could hear you, but I couldn't respond to you.
Oh my. 443.40. Calls above 443.40 and the low is 439.36. Okay, basically, I said Microsoft is at an inside candle today. It's the wick is, I mean, the same, almost the same place as it was yesterday. So doing what, it's basically touched it and touched it again. Can it push through? Yeah. What's the current price? Oh, current price is at 438. So it's actually already down here. Already on its way down as far as the pre-market goes. It's already outside of this, puts below 439. Let's go see what it's doing though in the pre-market, because it may have maybe hitting some resistance or some support and turning back. Got about 15 minutes before the market opens. It's just Microsoft in the pre-market. It has dropped a bit, but it already looks like it has hit some support. That was down here at 437, and it's on the rise back up. There's a gap here now during the night season that was formed that it's going to want to fill, and maybe once it fills that gap, it'll be ready to go on back the other way. The top of this gap is 440, and I think I said if it was below 439, isn't that what I said? Where's my writing? Poof, disappeared.
What happened?
I don't know. There it is. I was on a different time frame, so the writing disappeared. There it is. Puts below 439.36. So what you can do is if it comes back and touches that and goes the other way, then you can, make your move. But if you want to look at call credit spreads, you can also do call credit spreads above these numbers, above this 443. So now you can see that was 2 touches there. Let's go look at what a call credit spread would look like for next week. Remember, we're talking about next week now. So let that help you out. Next week, plus minus 9.8. So plus minus 10 puts us at like 450, 451. I probably would go with the 452.5. It's 83% probability out of the money. 452.5, 455 is paying $36. Pretty good return on it. Microsoft, what did I say? 452.5, 455 call credit spread for 621. All righty. This is the last weekend that I'm going to leave the $200 off for the Chart Your Way to 100K. I'm going to start the trainings. I'm going to start the live coachings or live small group coachings. I'm going to start that next week. And I want to be sure that everybody who's included is really ready to get started and get going. So if you're really, really looking at joining the Chart Your Way to 100K training, the stock charting training, then you want to go ahead and get yourself signed up. Again, we're starting next week. It's $200 off now. That's the price it is over at my website, Educator to Trader. We're going to include charting basics, support, resistance, trends, gaps, broadening formations, candlesticks, indicators, charting for specific strategies. I mean, we're going to basically cover the gamut, but it's a hybrid setup. So that you're going to have some videos that you need to watch, and then we will train from those videos after you've done the watching. I'm not reteaching the class that has a whole slew of videos to teach. I'm not reteaching it like that, but I'm going to be there to support you as you ingest the information. All right. 4 weeks of interactive learning, exclusive Telegram where I'll be there to help manage. And if you're looking at doing that, this is the last 3 days to really go ahead and get in on that. You can really go to Chart Your Way to 100K.com, chartyourway to100K.com, and that will take you directly to the page where you can register and sign up. All right. Don't miss the opportunity. I'm willing to bet, if I had good money, and if I was a bettor, which I'm not, but I'm willing to bet that there's more people who need this training than have signed up. And it ain't no shame. We're basically, we're here to learn. So there's no shame in the game. If you know you need something, though, you need to go and get it. Period. People are like, well, I don't know if I want to pay that much for it. I get that. But what we're doing is we're throwing money away in the market, hoping and trading on hopium, because we're not trading necessarily on technical analysis. And when I say we, the we generally, the we sometimes includes me, where we can be like, well, I know what I could chart this out, but so-and-so called it out. I can just go jump in, and you ain't looked at the chart yet. You're like, well, what is it doing? Where is it going? Where did it come from? Did you get in at the right time? Did you get out at the right time? Do you know where you're going to get out? All these are things that you're going to learn in charting. All righty. So if you're interested in that, go ahead and get yourself registered. The Educator to Trader membership is always open. We're here for you. We had a great training last night talking about credit spreads. How do we set our things up to help us enter and exit these? How do we work it, basically? How do you work it to get the maximum premiums on each of these trades, right? That was our missing link, and we added it last night. And that's what some of the kind of stuff we do in the membership. And we're just there to help support, especially when we get ourselves into tight spots with our trades, and you need help pulling you out. Then you just never know the intangible things that are said inside of a group. And you're like, later on, when you're by yourself, you're like, I could hear you. That Tanya said that. I could hear you saying that. When you're trading by yourself, you can still hear the coach speaking to say, no, or, go get on the other side and make it an iron condor, or pull in some more premiums. You can do that for sure. And now I'm going to wrap us up. Jamie, you got anything you want to say before I do the declaration and the prayer?
No, just, nothing major. Just be careful trading this morning. It is Friday. Friday can be unpredictable. So, just know that the numbers that we covered today might be a little bit different once the market opens.
That always happens, right? Always happens. I meant to look at Meta, but we're good. All right, our declaration. I declare I'm a great trader. I declare I'm a successful trader. I declare I'm a focused trader. I declare my wins exceed my losses. My account's growing more and more each week. I'm a wise and knowledgeable trader who does, I always make smart and lucrative decisions for my portfolio. I declare I'm a level-headed trader who does not trade my emotions. I was jumping to the end and hadn't even gotten there yet. Need to be repeating that part about not trading your emotions, because that's the big. Once you conquer yourself, it's on and popping from there. You conquer you. Ooh, yes. Lord, it's you who gives us the power to get wealth. You teach our hands to war with the purpose of establishing your kingdom. Help us today to trade wisely and strategically in order to fulfill this purpose. Give us more than enough so we can have what we need and enough to be a blessing to others in Jesus' name. Okay, so what I want you to do, I want you to make sure that you trade wisely, as Jamie was saying, and that you trade with diamond hands and you trade strategically. I also want you to make sure that you have a good weekend. And generally, those good weekends come from having a good trading day, because I know that for me, if I have a sucky Friday, it always impacts my weekend. Always impacts my weekend. If my Friday goes awry, I have to fight with myself the first few hours of the weekend in order to go ahead. And then Sunday, I'm back at it. Speaking of Sunday, I will be back on live at 5. The plan is live at 5. Actually, Sunday is Father's Day. So I may be on a little later. Mr. P wants to go do some stuff. So we may be on a little later. Go ahead, Jamie. Are you ready to say something?
I was going to agree with you about a bad trading Friday can mess up the weekend. It's almost like getting a whooping right before your birthday. You know what I'm saying? It's like, like, man, dude, how am I going to enjoy this birthday? And I welts.
I got welts.
So I definitely agree with you on that.
My son was notorious for acting a monkey just before like big days. He would always screw up a big day. I would have plans and stuff, and he would always do something like so tremendous that I would have to cancel or significantly reduce the plans because he would do dumb stuff. I'd be like, bruh. And his friends were like, it was so funny that his friends even knew it. Like when they were like, okay, don't fool around and mess up your birthday acting up. Like he just knew something big was coming and he was determined to jack it up. Every time. All right, y'all. I want you to get into the market and let's make it do what it do. Okay. So let's stay green. Let's get this money and let's have a great green day. I'll see you, everybody. See you in the market. Bye, Jamie. Thanks for hanging out with me today.
All right. To have a good one.
Bye, everybody.